Okay, good evening, everyone. I see the number is still low, but we shall start on because it's already 8 minutes out of our time. And today we may not push it up to 9. It will depend. It looks like I'm not perfect to make it to 2 hours, but we can push for around 1.5 hours. I know a few things maybe to touch based on pivot tables. Then it is after then uh, we shall be giving it a review. I know we have stretched this for 3 sessions for pivot tables. We are going to do a recap for what we did yesterday, just like in 5 to 7 minutes. Then after that, we shall bring in other topics which we left out behind yesterday. Then I'll receive questions from your end. The other part, the other part of the pivot, I will not touch it. It is on Power Pivot, which will be part of the advanced. I know those who will stay on for the other weeks coming. It will just be a continuous engagement from where we shall have stopped. So hope everyone is good. Me, I'm 50-50, just having a bit of some weakness, headache, and all that bit. But I'm fine for this session. We shall go for around 1.5 hours. Then we shall close it off. Next week, it is a close month week, so we shall not engage. I said we shall engage on demand in case there is a team that will feel like we need, but it will be part of a review. We shall not introduce anything new in the absence of the others. Okay. I was waiting for us to hit 20. I think we can start. Others will find us on the way. So I'll go ahead, share my screen. So then you can maybe check in behalf of the others, then I'll take it on.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
You can check in on behalf of the others.
Yeah.
If there is, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yesterday we did quite a lot. I don't see that it was a lot, but I know we dug depth in most of the things. And in this session, I will need more of engagement with questions coming through your end, because I will not assume questions and answer them. I just need you to engage. So today we are going to proceed. Yesterday, maybe to do a recap. Yesterday we did sorting and filtering. We did that where we are sorting both by value numbers, where we did a top 10 and any of these. Then there is sorting by label filters, where which is always the same, like you filter anything containing Fondi and it will filter out only Fondi. Then after that, we did show values are as, where you right click and show values are percentage, anything depending on how you need it. We dealt most on the rankings, which seem to appear on most of the pivot tables we did yesterday. Then we looked at slicers, which was this, and we dug mostly, we built much on this for some time, and I hope that everyone today has taken some time to practice. We looked at timelines, which ideally is picked from the field selection. It's just a matter of going to any date or any time, because it is a timeline. It must be a date or time or month or year. So it is just a matter of right clicking, you'll have that option. Then the other one, you'll have an option of slicers here. So you can have as many slicers as you can, but keeping the principle that you don't have to have a lot of clutter in your summary or your report you're coming up with. So we only deal with the essentials and the must-have. Then we looked at pivot table layouts. Pivot table layouts, this is where we find them. When you go to design, here they are. I hope all of us now should be knowing how all these work. We have dealt mostly with a short tabular form. I gave you the reasons why we have to use this. In case you have two fields here on rows, it becomes easy for you to group or collapse and expand. So we looked at how you do repeat all items when you have two rows, row labels put here, which means you can have it. I think I still have that pivot here. I don't know. Yeah, like this one. So you can have this one repeat, or you can have it not to repeat. It is all about the choice you have. So that was about the table layout. We looked at groupings. So we looked at such groupings together. So where you right click and group, it will bring a dialog box of grouping. So you set it up, the starting and the ending, then you give it a difference, which will be the difference between the two numbers, between the lowest and the highest for every iteration. Yeah, we left that and we looked at, I think that's all what we saw yesterday. Now, today I'm going to go directly to, this was working session 2. Today we are going to start off with something new. I'll create another session. Is there anyone who still has challenges in all what I've talked about before we start off? We have done a review of around 5 minutes, and that seems like it's what we did yesterday. And I expected at least to have done a practice today, maybe even going forward. Susan will be sharing a recording, which will be shared both with this one, and we shall let you run the recordings at your own times, and we shall share even the practice files for you to catch up with exactly what is in the video recorded. That's why I don't want to change anything here, such that it is easy for you to follow up with a video how we are doing all the changes that are done here, because the video will be showing you exactly how this is it is. So we are going now to deal with another working file, that is the session 3 we are in. So today we are going to look at calculated fields. Just a moment. We are going to look at calculated fields. We shall deep dive also in how we deal with pivot charts. But this is not going to be so much because we have a full throttle session here of creating such charts. And when you always need a chart, which type of chart, which type of data you'll always have. This I know now will be next month, the first weekend of the first week of next month. That is the first Tuesday next month. So today we are going to look at a few tricks we left out yesterday, and I hope most of the things here were dealt with, but there are some I've noted down on my end. That's what we are going to follow up with. So if there is any question, then we shall receive it first before we introduce anything new. Okay. So yesterday, guys, we looked at how you create pivots from your raw data. So, and I will always say it, for you to be on a good side when you're dealing with pivot tables, make sure that your raw data is in table format. How do you tell that the data is in table format? When you click in your data, you'll always see a table design tab appearing on the top. The moment you click outside the table, you automatically see it disappearing. That just tells you that this is a table. Now, there is also another option I didn't show you yesterday. instead of going to insert and create a pivot, because this one works for both anything that is not in table format or whether it is. But when you have already a table, you can always go to your table design. There is always a button of summarize with a pivot. So that option is always there. So it doesn't need us to go to insert because you already have it here. So today, let's use this. I will say summarize with pivot table. It will automatically bring you the dialog, which we have seen and we are conversant with now. I don't want to create a new one because I've already created my worksheet 3. So working sheet 3. So I will come here and say I'm using the existing worksheet, which I'll go and click on. Then I click on the first cell. So I always advise when you row on the top, in case things don't go well, you have a balance on either side. So that's why I will always choose like B2 and do OK. So it will bring you the framework of a pivot table for you to choose fields. So this side we have the fields. Yesterday we dealt with commercial carrier. Today I think we can deal with ship too. I don't know whether there are very many, but I think these are very many. Let's deal still with commercial carrier. It's just the principles. The data can always change. So we said yesterday when you check, it will automatically do a placement. And when we check quantity, I think you will understand that we are using quantities because it is the only metric we have in this data. It is the only metric that we can aggregate in this data. There is no any other metric we can aggregate in this data. Aggregating, I mean like we are going to sum, getting counts, getting average. That is the only data we have here we can aggregate. This data that is showing entry weights and exit weights, it is not so much important for the analysis we are on. So we can always go with that aggregation, which is the sum. So doing a recap, I will be somehow quick on layouts. We are going to use tabular as always. That is always the favorite you can always pick. Here you can always customize this. So the moment I want to remove the word sum of, and I leave the word quantity, because this quantity is the same thing the header is here, Excel will never allow you to create this header as quantity because there is another header quantity from the raw data. So if you need quantity, you can always give it a space at the beginning. It will be now different from this one. There it will accept. But the moment you just need the exact quantity, which is already the header, the moment you enter, it will tell you pivot table field name already exists, which means it is already used by the raw data. We can't use it. So you can always put a space in front or at the back if you need the same wording, but you can always change it, put it in full. You can even use any wording. It is up to you. But if I want it to appear in the face of the audience, like as how it is here, just give it always a space either at the suffix or the prefix. I think that's what we did yesterday. Now, today let's look at some other things. We shall start with moving and updating values. So now, you may have this, but there is an option where you will want to sort A to Z. Obviously, when I sort A to Z, you'll see a bus Bamiko that is alphabet. But in case we didn't want to sort A to Z, there is, let's say, a predetermined list and how they should be in that order. Let's say if you don't need to use the order for alphabet, and since Hiva Cement Limited Uganda is on fleet, right? So, and you always want that to be at the top of every pivot table or every report you do. You're very okay to always cut this, and when you paste it here, it will automatically paste on the top and it will just disappear at the bottom. So you have that leverage because this is a pivot table. When you cut and paste where a bus was, a bus automatically moves down. I don't know whether you have got that. Most of the cases you may be running reports But when you create like this table, and we create, let's say we insert a chart of this kind. Just I'm inserting a basic chart. But always, because we have a determined fields which we want always to come first, either independence of alphabet or in the independence of the quantity they have done. Maybe they will always want on fleet to come first. Yeah, ideally it has, because there are a lot of metrics you look up to for that, since it is a different setup from the others. So you can always bring it on the top. Bringing it on the top, you don't force it. Just cut it, paste it on top. So even if we come here and refresh the table, it will never change, not until someone else comes here and says sort A to Z. It will automatically sort, and you'll see even the graph sorts automatically. So that is one thing I wanted to show you, that you can always move the fields or update them independent on how you need them. You can even create a custom list of how you need some of them to appear. Now, that is all. I don't know whether we have a question on moving any field on your end. So if I want xworks to always be number last, I will cut it, take it at the bottom, and paste it. So it will always go at the bottom, because I want all these at the top, because they lie in the same category, which is called DDP. So that's how we always do it. Now, that is done and dusted. So we go to something else. Now, I've shown you how we move, and I've shown you how we update values. So it updates automatically. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to copy the same this, skip one column, paste the same. Now, I have a challenge that you will always have a challenge that if you create a width maybe of your columns, the moment you refresh, it will always adjust again. Let's say we need this as the width, maybe you need to optimize some space, but the moment you refresh, it goes again to a default width. Maybe if I want this column to be somehow larger, maybe I'm bringing in, let me use this scenario. I'm bringing in bars like this, because I want the bars to be clear and people should see which one is high and which one is low, to just create a distinct space between the bars. And you feel like you need this column to be that width. The moment you do any change anywhere, your data will always refresh and go back, which we don't want. Because you see, like now this cache, it is so much insignificant, like someone can't even see how the bar big it is, or someone can't tell the difference between leeway and a bus. So if you do this, now how do we make sure that these columns never change? Just right click on your pivot table, go to pivot table options. So you'll always use this very much. Right clicking and going to pivot table options. So when I go to those options, there is an option layout and format. So on layout and format, we have here auto-fit columns width on update. So every time it is updating, it will auto-fit the columns to default. So since I need my customized width, I will always remove the tick and I say, okay. So even if now I go back and refresh, this is the width I want. Even if I bring it to that custom and refresh, it is the width I want, which is different from this, because this, I haven't customized this. The moment I refresh, it goes back, but this one will not, because we have customized the width. So take that into context always when you feel like you need a predetermined width, column width. In case you need it to always be auto, just to fit with the data you have put there, you can go back and always check it by right-clicking, pivot table options, and check this. Then there is also preserve cell formatting on update. So if you have already put your cell formatting. Maybe you have put custom colors, white, red, black. Maybe there is something you're tracking, and every time you refresh, your colors are lost. You should always also use the same option, go back, remove this, or leave it there. Now, when it is ticked, it means that you have preserved the cell formatting. The moment you remove it, every time you update, it will be changing the cell formatting, which means if, let's say, let me try this, if it works out. Let's say if I bold that and go here and refresh, you see it loses the bolding. It is losing the bolding because, let me undo again for those who have not seen. Let's put colors. Let's put a custom color, not a conditional one. Let's say we are making all the DDPs with a green. But at the stage we have reached, I know no one can do this because at least now we have automated a lot. So maybe you are at that level, you haven't done this session, and you have sorted out, formatted out your DDPs to have a different color. You have formatted your XWorks to have a different color. Let's imagine also these ones have a list longer. So the moment I refresh, the colors are going to be lost. So you're going to be troubled every time you're doing the same thing. So what you have to do on your end, just right click, go to option table options, make sure that this one is always checked. So which means we unchecked the other one, then we are checking this. Leave it checked, which is always by default. So when I come to this, then refresh, the automatic was looking at the other option we did first. So which means if you put now, after actioning on the setting, let's put the formatting, which means now if we refresh, we are preserving now the formatting. The formatting will never be lost. So that is on preserving column width and preserving the formatting. These are the little things which you feel like you may not need, but at some point they will always trouble you. But it is something simple, just a check in the background, have it a constant this way. And you'll always find people troubled to have these things done the way, but you can always come in and support. So I'll leave that intact and we'll go to something else. Guys, is there any question? I don't want to be the speaker of the day today. Today being the last session on pivot tables, I want as many questions as you can.
Yes, I have
to
one.
make sure that, yep, please go.
Suppose if you put those colors and then you save this saving of hours, can those colors also change if you go to refresh?
They will. The saving doesn't preserve the settings of a pivot table. If the checking is that never it is auto-fit of columns, it will always remain auto-fit. When you save a document, like this document is already saving because it is on OneDrive, it saves automatic. Actually, there is also something I wanted to tell you that when you use online or cloud spaces, they always auto-save your documents. So like this document, even if I don't do a control save, it was already saving in the background, but you know that with Google Sheets. So even if this document is saved, you're just saving these changes that you have two pivot tables, but you're not saving the settings that are not done on a pivot table. So that one speaks to the settings done on a pivot table. Any other question? Okay. Silence will mean that I go ahead. Now we are going to look at something else. Yesterday I showed you how we replace blanks. Yep.
I have a question, but I think I was just troubled with my mic.
Okay.
How do we color format the slicers? For example, if I'm building a dashboard or in this format tables, how do we have different slicers in different colors?
Yes. Now, when you have a different slicer, like you have this slicer and you have another slicer, let's say yesterday you saw we created slicers. I'll come maybe on ship 2 and right click and create a slicer, which is this. So every slicer, you can always click on it to have a slicer tab here. You can go and change the style you want. So this style may be like this, and this style was different. Yesterday, you remember we created a custom, which was Avon, which is different. So you have a lot of styles here. You can always choose the style you feel like is good for you. Or maybe if you're building a report and you're looking at the brand colors, but you keep it in context that in your designs, if you're doing a design or if you're doing data analysis, you never have to exceed 3 colors. 3 colors minus black and white, which means now and that's why you see even logos for companies, they don't go beyond 3 colors, major colors. So that is like a principle not to clutter the audience. Some people have eye blindness, color blindness. So that's why we go for 3 colors. And when you check here in the styles, we don't have bright colors. There is a reason why. We don't have a sharp red, we don't have sharp green, we don't have sharp pink. So this just speaks to you that never use sharp colors when you're setting up a brand or a theme for your report. So that's how you can change the styles. For even you can come to the timeline, you change its style different. So it all lies in your choice. It is your choice. Okay, I will proceed. That was just a throwback, but it is healthy because I know some people should have missed out that yesterday. Okay, now I'm going to show you how we replace empty cells. I don't know whether I can get anything that is empty in our data. Yesterday we filled the empty we had, and I think everything is intact. We don't have, okay, on remarks, I think we can rely on that. Okay, let's create a pivot table with remarks. There's something I want to show you. Yesterday, when we found out that we had a blank on XWorks, we went back to the raw table and filled all the blanks with the word XWorks. But there is an option to that. If you don't have access or edit rights to the raw data, do you call the person to help you and fill the blanks with the XWorks? And what if their data, they never wanted to put the word XWorks in the blanks? That's where a challenge comes in. So here, just having it. Now here we are having another pivot table. I'm going to remove commercial carrier and make this one remarks. So I'll pick remarks, put them here. So even though there are many, I'm just looking at. Okay, now here, this is where it comes where you have to make sure that your columns are customized, because now this wording is so much that it is stretching to the point I don't need it. So you see we have blanks, which means that where there is blank, all those documents never had a value. Here, they never had a value. So what do we put there to make sure that when we are presenting, we have these ones with comments and we have the other ones without comments? Those are the remarks which were being put on the document. So you have always an option to fill the blanks. How do we fill the blanks? This time we are going to right click on the side of the fields. So we want to fill anything that comes blank. It should be having a custom, maybe a custom name. So when I right click and I say pivot options, then when you come to layout, there is here an option for empty cells, always show. Now, because it is blank, that's why you see it is blank here. So I can put there any word to always stand for anything that has no comment. And for those who know where this data is coming from, anything that doesn't have comment, which means that transaction was weighed manually. It was not done by the automation, right? Those who maybe didn't know about it, that's how it is. Anything, any transaction you see that comes with a comment, it means that has been weighed by the automation. So here, which means I will say manual weighing. So this one gives you some leverage when you're presenting this. So you see now, every time I refresh anything, this data of ours is again expanding. So which means we can go back to what we did, options, then we remove the autofill column weighted, such that we want to pack it, not to keep changing. So I will do like this. Here we go now. If I refresh this, just a moment, right click, table options. For empty cells, show this. Sorry, it is not updating. I don't know why, but we shall not dwell on it. Maybe I will tell you the reason why it has not updated. But for now, it should have updated, and we should be seeing manual here. But for now, let's first drop onto something else. But that's how you do it. Then for also the blank values, when you have a blank value, let's say you have male and female, maybe female were not part, they were blank or zero, still you can always right click, table options, you come here, you fill this to, see, display, show value zeros. Okay, we shall come back to that. So for the other one, which means we shall always put here as zeros, which means any blank you'll get on values will come up with zeros. That is if you want to autofill from the pivot table. But in case the data is yours, you can always do the cleanup from this end. So that is it. I will put a star on that. We shall come back to that. Then there is grouping items. So I want to show you how we group items. You may come up with, you know, we don't have a column that shows us DDP and XWorks. And here in time, maybe we are going to do it with items. Let's pick copy. We copy the whole of this. You know why I'm copying the pivot tables? Because I don't want to repeat, since it is the same thing we are looking at. Now here I'm going to drop here the material descriptions. I drop out the commercial carriers. Now, on these material descriptions, I want to sort out anything that is having BLC to put them as bulk. Then the other ones, I put them as backed. Now here is the trick. Just be attentive if you are doing anything. First pause, look at your screen. Now, we want to make everything that has bulk to group them with one category called bulk. Then the others with the remaining ones are going to be backed. So what do? I'm going to select the first one, which is this, but actually there is this. Press a Control New keyboard as you go on selecting the others, the third, the fourth. So I've selected all the bulk cement. Then go ahead, right click, come and select group. The moment you select group, it is going to create a group one. We have to go and remove. You see, our pivot table is disorganized. Why it is becoming disorganized? Because we have not checked out subtotals and totals, and we don't need them for now. As of now, we don't need them. So go to your design, make sure that you remove them. I think we have done that before. So first remove those subtotals. Now, this is the grouping I created. You see now they have grouped themselves as group number 1. So you see group 1, there is bulk, 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 bulk. BLK, BLK. The other ones are having cages, which means they are back. So which means you can come here. This is group number 1. And the remaining ones, we can also group them like this. I'm selecting the remaining ones. Right click. No. We have to select them from this side of the material. So select this and this. Those are the remaining ones, the bag. Right click on them, set group, and it has created group 2. So which means you'll see here we have group 1 and group 2. So we can go ahead and rename these groups. How am I going to rename the groups? Group 1 was bulk, which means you'll come on the material description, this, right click on it, then come on field settings. So you see the material description, we are having material description 2, which means this is the grouping we have. So we can show this one as Incoterm. No. This is package. Let's do package. So the moment I do okay. So we have the package here. We have the material description, which means this we have to rename this control field settings. Group 1. Right. Then here we can remove this, then remain with group 1 and group 2. Now, changing the group, group 1, just a moment. I think I'm making people lost. Let's be on the same line. Group 1, we saw it was bulk, which means you'll come click here, go and change this to bulk, enter. Then group 2, it was bagged. So come and click on group 2, change it here as bagged. So here you didn't have a column that was screening bagged and bulk, but we have done it directly from the pivot tables, which means if you no longer need this, because now you see that it has created another field, which means that's where now you come and say, if I don't need these blank spaces, I want to fill here bagged. That's where you go to your report layout and do repeat all items. I did that for you the other time. But if you don't need this, in case we don't need to repeat, and we no longer need to look at the particular material descriptions, because now the pivot table we want should be giving us the bulk and the bag. Just go ahead and drop this by dragging it and put it aside. So you'll remain with your data. The bulk will give you the totals and the bag will give you the totals, just simply because we have used that trick. So you'll find that you didn't have this column, but we have created it manually directly through the pivot table. So if there is a question on that, I can recap for anyone who has not yet picked it, right? But
there is a question.
Yep.
Yes, Chris. What I want to know is, assuming you do not select, okay, you're trying to group, and then you select the entire data instead of being more specific.
Okay.
And are you able to do the grouping?
The ungrouping, like to reverse this, right?
No, grouping. You have, let's say, 10 line items, yes? Now, instead of selecting maybe bagged, maybe you have got around 3 line items, then you select the first one, second one, and third one. This time around, what you want is to select the entire data and then group it.
Yeah, you can do it. Let's run with another data here. I'll always pick this data because we already know the basics of how it comes out. So you're saying in case you want to group all this, maybe if I did it, I don't know whether I picked you right. Like what we are saying, like if we didn't select one by one, and you say that you're selecting the whole of this in a line without selecting one by one. Is it what you meant?
Yes,
Joseph,
yes.
Yeah, this is very okay. You know, we selected one by one because they were scattered. But still we had an option of first putting them together, then we select like this. So when you select them this way, I'll right click. Actually, let's group this again. You see from here up to here, all these are DDPs. So I will select them, right click and say group. Then I group, come here, call this DDP like this. Enter. This one which is remaining, remember always to remove the subtotals because they make everything just a mess. Then automatically this one has grouped itself as xworks because it is xworks here, which means because it was one. That's why it has not put for me group 2, but it has put for me xworks. So which means if you want to collapse in case you're in a meeting, and you can go ahead and show this is the value for DDPs and this is the value for xworks. But if you no longer need the commercial carriers, I've told you, you can go ahead and dump this one aside. Then you go ahead and rename this. You go ahead and rename these, independence on how you need them. So which means it becomes easy for me here now. Let's say if here we are showing Incoterm and DDP xworks. Here it was packaged. So it becomes easy for me to create out a chart, let's say like a pie chart or a donut chart like this. It is very easy because I've already grouped everything. So when you come here and increase this donut size, increase that way, and there you go. So here it shows a lot of the information is quite clear than when they were spread like 19 of them. So that's what we are going to reach to, and we shall always see coming out with a chart like this. Which type of data do you need, and how should you deal with that data? And this is one of the way how you can do that. And it helps a lot when you have now like all this that was done manually. All this that was done manually, which means our control shift down arrow, it goes up to the end. Actually, it is up to here because the other ones are manual postings. Right click on this group and say this group I've grouped is automation, like this, automation. Then let me create here, actually because of the reason why I was telling you to keep leaving some spaces, you see when we are grouping, it is creating a third column on the left. And you see even the spaces we left are being squeezed up. So I'll go ahead and insert that. We'll leave this no fill. You can always leave around 3 columns to make sure that you're always on a safe side. Because at some point you may need to do these groupings and they will be eating up you. So which means when I squeeze the automation, let's always make sure we remember to remove the subtotals. Because now the remaining that didn't have a comment, even this blank one, were weighed manually. Actually, now I will put on this. I will put that this was manual. Then this, because it was weighed manually when maybe the system was down, because this comment was input by someone who was documenting, we shall group them also. You say group, then you come and rename this grouping. This, you call it manual posting. So when you're having your report for a month, I have to put here insert columns to make sure these ones that are distant. So when I come to this pivot, you see I have remarks 2. This remarks 2 is what I want. So here you can say this is the mode of weighing. So it becomes easy for you to analyze how documents were weighed. So I can go ahead and remove the remarks which was original, dump it outside. So I'll remain with manual. I think here there is space. So I'll remain with manual, automation, and manual posting. Now, when you have a report like this, it may not, quantities are not making any sense. We need to change this to counts. We know how many, or by percentage, actually we change to percentage. Then we know that in the month of April, 20% was done manually. Automation did this percentage. I think, Timothy, now this comes to you. I know you have done a report of this kind. So you'll just right click here and you say show values as, you go and look for a percentage of a grand total. So you'll do percentage of a grand total, and here we go. So which means when you're presenting this to the team, you say, by the way, we have done 97% automation, 1% was a manual because the system was down, and maybe 2%. Actually, I will come on this number format, I remove the decimal. So we come to number format, we remove the decimals to 0, and boom, we go. Oh, no. This has to be percentage. I've forgotten that the decimals don't have to be 0. They have to be, we have to reduce from here, like this. Now, here you clearly tell, even if we went ahead and created a chart, pivot, we created a chart here, and automatically we shall go for a pie chart. I like always donut chart because it is so much informative. So if I go for a donut chart, remove all this stuff by going to design, pivot, and remove the buttons. You may need this. You can either put it on left or right from here. You can say legends. I want them on top or at the bottom. Then you go ahead and increase the donut to reduce this space in the middle by double clicking. You come this side, you reduce the size of the donut chart like that. You can go ahead and insert labels and you show the labels like this, or you can show them as cutout that way. And here we go. Or you can always show them in another informative, like pulling them out. So you'll find that this is a good presentation in our dashboard. It automatically shows that we went to a breadth of 97% automation. 1 was a manual posting, 2 was manual, maybe the cameras were down or something to do like that. So you see now the beauty of summarizing or grouping directly in a pivot tables. The beauty is we didn't go back this side to create a column for a mode of weighing, and we do automation and manual and this. Remember that when you do that from this side, you're creating another narrative that it is not dynamic. Everything added, you have to go back. It is a lot. So when you do it directly from the pivot table, everything is sweet and nice. So just go with this, and there you're done. I know I've spent a lot of time on grouping items. I know few people knew this. If there are those who knew it, maybe they have not been using it right, but this is the way we use it. If there is no question, I will jump onto something else. I will make sure I don't delete this for the practice purpose. So if there is any question, please don't unmute.
It was a good idea for us to use the data we understand. We are learning more.
Yes, actually, by the way, I don't know even how I had skipped it that I was getting data from anonymous data from the net for practice. So by this is fine. I don't know whether Abbott and we have 2 guys who have been joining with us. I don't know whether Abbott and Nathan are okay with this, but I know it is fine. Okay.
Hi, Chris.
It is well.
Hello,
Oh, okay.
hello, Chris.
Yes, Nathan.
Yes, I joined a bit late, but we can go to the next item with grouping. I can still get a recording and follow.
Yes, it's fine then. So guys, I think we are running out of time, and today we have to at least conclude 80%. I know I may not make 100%. Some of them we shall meet them ahead, but there are a lot of tricks I still have here on my book written down, which I felt like we should share. So that is all about to do with grouping. You can always play with your pivots. And I always call maybe call upon everyone dealing with pivot tables. Feel free to always recopy your pivot table if you're going to format a pivot table. Like imagine this, we have reformatted it from something different, which you may not take back easily. So it is always a good behavior of copying your pivot table and formatting it like that. You have like a one dummy that you can always reuse. When we reach dashboards, this is what we shall be doing. We shall be creating like 20 pivot tables, because that's the 20 ways we shall have summarized data. Actually, before I leave, how do we rename our pivot tables such that when we reach a point of creating like a slicer, let me create a slicer here of transporters. You see, then the groupings you make, they are always created this side, which means you can reuse them. So let me pick commercial carrier here. Or item. Let me take material description. So let me put a slicer. So in case you have this slicer, which means when you go ahead and you're previewing what was done automation, you can always tell what is automation and what is not. Then maybe going forward, we shall see how you can click from the chart directly to change the other side. So what I wanted to tell you that is, when you come to this slicer, because we shall always create like one slicer that has to speak to all the pivots we have created. Now you'll always come on the slicer, go on the slicer settings here, and not that actually, here on the report connections. So when we come on the report connections, it will show you that that slicer is only connected to only one pivot table among all the pivot tables we have created. Now, you see we have, how many pivot tables are these from here up to here? And they will always show even the sheet they are on. Some of the pivot tables, they're on sheet 2. These ones are on sheet 3. Now, there is an option to always make sure that you organize. This is the way how you do it. When you come to your pivots, like you are done with your pivot, go ahead and give it a name. You can actually always give it a name of this. You can always pick a name, you can give it. So you come on design, pivot analyze, there is this name. You have to always change this name, because you'll not remember what was pivot table number 3. So I will paste that. But then another thing you'll always have to note that when we are naming pivots, we don't leave spaces. So you don't say mode of weighing, which means if you want to do it right, you just say weighing mode or something, but you don't leave space. If you want to leave space, you leave it as an underscore like this. We don't leave space in the naming. And also a good discipline in programming or in any analysis, we always put PVT in front, such that whenever you find this naming anywhere in your worksheet, you know that this is a pivot, this is a table, this is a named range. So you can always do PVT mode underscore weighing, you enter, that one is done. You go on another one, I'll call this one pivot package. Don't mind with, even if you don't leave a space, it will be well, because you'll easily tell. Then I will call this Incoterm. So this is Incoterm. So now when I go back to my slicer, because I wanted this slicer to work for all the 3, because when we take this to our dashboard, we shall need a slicer to work for all the charts on that dashboard. So you'll come on the slicer, go on the slicer settings, pivot, report connections. Now, when I expand this time, you'll see that these ones have namings, which means I can easily tell what I'm ticking and what I'm not ticking. So I will tick this, I will tick this. So the moment I tick those three and say, okay, now this pivot is connected to all the three. Now, let's create even here another chart. I want just to easily show you how it is going to work, such that we can. I'm just going to create dummies. Don't mind on the design and everything. Okay, there we go. This one we can create a bar. Just come here. You can go with this bar. It's fine. But I'm not saying that it is a suitable chart for that. Now, I have the three charts of mine. Now, you remember when I told you that most of the cases you'll want to remove this field list because I don't need it. But every time I click on a chart, it will come. So you can always go here and toggle it off because we don't need it. So now these are the three charts of mine. This is my pivot. Let me align them in the center. You can also remove this. Now, since we have connected this slicer to all these three pivot tables, which means it is automatically connected to these charts. The moment I click on Fundi, all of them will change for only Fundi. You see, Fundi is backed, they were 225, this. The moment I click on multipurpose, it will change for multipurpose. The moment I click on this, it will change like that. But sometimes some filters don't make sense because automatically we know that this is a bulk. Then why did we need this summary? Why did we need a DDP? Maybe a DDP can work. So the moment you have a summary of a field in one of your charts, then you don't need it as a slicer. Or you may need it as a slicer, but you go ahead on that slicer and you don't connect it to that particular pivot, which is the package. Because we know this is automatically the package. So I'll remove the package and say okay. Which means the moment I click on Fundi, this one will remain intact because I've removed it from the connection. Because it wouldn't make sense me filtering by the cement type, and yet here we know that it has to be bagged because this is bagged. So I think that is it, guys. That's what we do with slicers, and the purpose when you reach to use slicers, rename your pivot tables. The moment you don't name your pivot tables, you're doomed because you have seen already how we have over 10 here, and I've told you can always even have over 20 called pivot table 2, pivot table 1, pivot table 9, you know, that confusion. And you'll have to click on it, go there and check what it is. You come back this side, you'll find that you already lost. You have 2 pivot tables, 1, like this is pivot table 2, this is pivot table 2. Why are they having the same name? Because one is on one sheet, another one is on another sheet. That confusion, you can only eliminate it by renaming them. I think I leave that point. It's clear, and we dash it off. That is on renaming. Now, what else did I want to talk about? I've talked about the restricting columns from auto changing. That one I've talked about. I want to talk about something else we did yesterday and we left it hanging. Actually, I'll delete this just to have enough space, or I can move them down. But they don't have any purpose, so they have to be there. I've deleted them. Okay. Now, we want to look at how you create multiple filters. Yesterday you saw, I'm going to pick again one of my dummies here. I had already created a group on them. So you see when I'm clicking on this pivot table, my field list is not appearing. Don't always trouble yourself. It is you who hid it, then you go and enable it again. So here, let me remove the grouping because I don't need it here, because I want to take this as we have always done as a default. copy it here, leave some space. This Excel continues up to, I can call infinity for now. It continues up to ZZ. Do you know the time you reach ZZ, you see we have just finished Z and we have started A will run up to Z. You start B, A will run up to Z. So it is long. You can use it as how you can scroll on the right however much you need, but to make sure that you are neat on how you're doing your stuff. So here, what I want to show you, if you come and say, yesterday we had two filters. One filter is for the labels, another filter is for the values. We want to filter out anything that has the word limited, LTD, right? So you'll come here and you say value, this is labels, label filters that contain. So when I come here, you can even change from here, contain does not, contain is between, it is your choice. But here that contains limited like this. The moment I say okay, it will give me only companies that have the word limited. Even though it is uppercase or lowercase, there we go. But in case I say, okay, I need the companies that have the word limited, maybe these are the companies that are registered with the authority, URA, and we say these companies which have done more than 1,000 tons as volume. So you'll come here and say, okay, now, since I've done that, let me go ahead and go on the value filters. Say I need anything that is greater than 999 because I need the 1,000. So the moment I say, okay, we have already lost the first filter because now we have HEMA cement which has a forward limited, which is not LTD. We have XWorks which has no limited. It means that when you come here, you can always do one filter at a go. But remember that the problem we have come with from our manager is any company that has the word limited, that's one, and a company that is greater than 1,000, is greater than 999, which means it has done 1,000 plus. So they want these cases, and I've already created my filter. I can get this from here. So the moment this fails, because by default, Excel will allow always you to do one filter at a time. You either filter by this or you filter by this. But our boss has given us two filters. That is not his problem. The problem is you who has the expertise in Excel to look out for the option how you can do it. How do we do that? Just come in the field list, right click, go to the pivot table options. When you reach there, this time the layout and format, this is not our worry this time. We go to totals and filters. Now, when we go to totals and filters, there is something here that is not always checked. Allow multiple filters per field. That's what we wanted. But Excel will not always give it to you because most of the people who need that filter, they will always need to filter by one, either by value or by labels. So the moment you click on this, you have allowed and okay. So which means let's take it back to default by canceling everything. Now we need to bring this in to life. So you're going to do this. Go to value filters. Let's start with labels. You say we need anything that contains. Don't say equals. The moment you say equals and you put LTD capital, which means this LTD small letter Bamiko will never come. So just always go with the word contain. It will always save your life. So even if I put small letters LTD like this, it will even bring the capitals, the uppercase. Now we have done the first filter. This one is gone and dashed off. Then we go to the second. We will need only those who have 1,000. Don't go ahead and copy this and paste values because you have to delete this manually. If you reach a meeting and say, no, please, I'd just reduce this value to 800, you'll go back and do a lot of work. The whole day, you'll do the work for the whole day, which should have been done in seconds. So now we are filtering by 1,000. Let's start with 1,000. We shall drop back to 800 as a base to test ourselves. So still, I will come back. Since we allowed multiple filter, I will come to value filters. Then you go to equals or greater than. So we say greater than 999. Okay. Now, you see that it has now done multiple filters. It has a filter of contain. It has a filter of greater than. And here we go. It is just a trick that you can run out, which means maybe they wanted you to have a graph of these people, the way how they have been trading. And since maybe you were going to meet Bamiko, you're going to meet Magnum as a trader, Magnum, you're going to meet Magnum, but you want to show him these numbers that he's maybe like, you know, how he's performing with the other competitors. And we always need to bring Magnum on top. I've told you that how you do it. You just cut this and come and paste it here. Because if we are going to meet Magnum, which means we shall need Magnum on top, such that when that is always playing on the minds of the audience, such that the audience sees what you want him to see first. You can always play it from this side. So it is you who analyzes data, and it is you who determines how the data has to go out. But I'm not saying you manipulate this, because obviously you can't manipulate this. But you can always change this arrangement, such that if I came up with a graph and we are meeting Magnum, which means, you know, our eyes as human, they always start from the left to right. They always start from top to bottom. So we are tricking this such that he should look at himself first, then he can compare himself with others. But if you put him at the end, he will first look at others, get demoralized. By the time he reaches to look at what he has done, he's already demoralized. So it is just like a mindset, or tricking a mindset of your audience. So we have gone through those tricks. I have done the other one and I've repeated it, showing you where it is. It is used or applied. So hope all of us, we are very well comfortable now with multiple filtering. So if you're comfortable with that, we shall go ahead and I will show you another trick. I think this is done. Can I leave this? Okay. So let me go with the same. Oh, we said that if you reached a meeting and they changed that, no, we needed you to bring again even those who have done at least above 100 to increase on the analysis. Maybe these ones they are very few, which means maybe if you present this to the group, it's going to show as if few transporters are doing a lot than the 20 transporters we have on board. The question will come, why do others have contracts if they can't do 800 per month? So which means you may want to increase on the coverage, and you say, okay, let's go with a value greater than, this time not 800 999, but greater than 800. So if I put greater than 800 and I want even those with 800 to appear, I will come and say greater than or equal to. So I'll go ahead and do okay. You see, the moment I adjust, Covenant has come and it has automatically even adjusted here, Covenant has appeared. So that's the beauty when you work with pivot tables. Any adjustment you do automatically responds to everything you have connected it to. So I will leave this. Let me save as how Karamagi said we should save. So let's copy this. I want to reuse this on another instance. Now, we have this summary, but your boss tells you that for every transporter we see there, we need you to give us the summary of their volumes, their accounts, and what else? Maybe the maximum they have done, maybe the minimum, to look at those who have bulkers, how have they operated. So you remember we had removed the option of subtotals here. So if I again go ahead and put subtotals at the bottom of the group. So going ahead, let's create two groups. Let's create two groups. We have already done the grouping together. So if I create this group, we call it, this is group A. This is, we call maybe, how can we call these? These ones are maybe star 5. Maybe in safety, we have noted out that they are star 5. Then the other ones, we give them, we group, we give them star 4. Now, we have two reports. We are looking at star 5 and star 4 transporters because we have seen they are the most highest, but still in the most highest, there are two. There are those which are 5, there are those which are 4, safety-wise, on road safety. Now, we want to come up with, we can go ahead and we no longer need now to look at Magnum and all the commercial carrier, which means I can dump this aside. Just a moment. Undo. The challenge is that when we remove the commercial carrier, since we did a grouping here of everyone who is limited, the moment we remove it, it brings us to default. Let's leave it for now. But we can always come here and collapse them like this, such that you have star 4, this one, star 5, that. You can always leave this in the middle or you squeeze it that way to just hide it. That is just a trick on hiding it. Now, they are telling us, give us the counts of trips star 4s have done and what star 5s have done. You give us the sum of what they've done and give us the average of what they have done. How do you do that? The moment I come to, it is already giving me a summary of the sum. But if they want a summary of the average, a summary of the counts, how do you do that? So we shall always come to, by the way, is there any question? Because we have like 20 minutes or...
Yes, Chris, there is a
Please
question I
ask.
wanted to ask you.
Yes.
Maybe if we just go back where we were doing greater than, do I need to necessarily do greater than, or what if I just select and say between 500 to 1,000, it still work?
It works, please. It works. So when you come on value filters, you click that one that is already activated on your end. This time you can change it and say it's between. So it will give you between 800 and maybe 2,000. It will give you only
Okay,
those
it
between
doesn't
that.
have to be
So that
necessarily
option
greater
is there.
than.
No. There are a lot of there are a lot of sort or value filters here, categories. There are very many. There is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, is between or is not between. So you can even have a criteria of is not between. Anything that is not between this and that, they will bring it for you. But that one comes from your problem. Remember, I told you yesterday or the other day, don't begin anything without a problem. You're just going to waste time. You're going to look at data, it will look at you, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start from. But the moment you know a problem, because this was our problem, we need all transporters with the word limited and the above 100. Automatically, that's a problem. For us, we are looking for a solution of which this was the solution. So that's how we analyze data. If you don't know the problem, don't touch data. You're wasting time. Yes. Okay. Here I was showing you that if they wanted us to
Sabit, I have a question
now
here.
This is the problem.
Okay, thanks. In a scenario whereby you have one column item description, then let's say somewhere you have an SKU description and then values. but you want to sort, let's say, from A to Z. How do you play around to sort description and SKU in A to Z sequence?
Yes, this is something you're talking about here. We can create another pivot for that question. We shall come back to that. Let's first create another pivot here for that question. As I told you the other time, you can go to this data, summarize our data in pivot table. We take it where we want it to be. First click here, existing here. You take it to where you want it to be, this. Then this time, you say, let's have a material item, and on top of item, we have, actually, we did remarks. You remember the remarks we did, where we grouped 1 and 2, only that the naming was lost. Let's do that. Let's use again our commercial carrier. Then after that, you have quantity. Where is quantity? So when you have a lot of fields, like how you see I'm struggling, always come here. Just start typing, it will come. Don't struggle. This life is meant to be lived in an easy way. So, but remember to remove what you had searched for, such that you can again see your filters. So you're saying if it is like this, let's put this, remove the subtotals on both, remove the grand totals on both, then we go ahead and put this in tabular form. So you see, when you put it in tabular form, it will show you that Fundi, these ones are the ones who were there. These are the ones who did that. You get? Now, I told you the other time you can go ahead and say this one repeat values. It will repeat the values. Now, what Albert is asking, can I go ahead and say A to Z here? Then the same thing here, I do A to Z. Is it possible? Yes, it is. Because you see that here, we have a sorting different. We also have a sort. Let me do Z to A here. So which means what you are saying that every group, I need materials to bring for me A to Z. But when we go to those items, material descriptions, even their subcategory, which is the commercial carrier, you can filter it independent. Maybe if you are talking about the other filter, this filter, it disappears, label filters, because, just see, okay, here that contains BG, so that we have bug. It will bring only the bulk is lost. Then when you go here, you say labels that contain limited, like this. So which means here you'll have filtered for this one independent, because here you are looking for anything that has BG, which means it is bugged. And here you are only looking for labels that have maybe limited. So every bug, it will give you. You can do any format you feel like, because you may receive an instance where they're saying, okay, we need only to look at maybe craft, which means here will come label and you say that contains KF, like this, and it will bring only craft. Then automatically it will display transporters that have only craft. But you can go ahead and say, in those transporters, I want transporters who contain the word MA, maybe go with that. So you'll see that they will bring only those who contain MA. There is Mark here, there is Hima here, there is Matt here. You can do whatever you want. You can always now go ahead and do it by value filter, by saying something should be, let me see these values, something should be greater than 200. Boom. Now, here, now you see, because this one, we have not yet done the multiple. You see, we have lost, the moment we came to filters, by value, we lost the labels. And even here, these labels are still there because it is attached to this. Because we had not done this, you remember what we did last time? Because we had not checked this. So remember to check and do the filters. So it is possible. Go ahead and play with your data. It is possible. That's the answer I can give you. So I think I'm going to go backwards on what I was on. I can go ahead and delete this in case we don't need it. Boom, there we go. Okay, what was I talking about? We have a problem. This is our problem. They want us to summarize out how many counts the *5 has done and *4, what is the average and what is the sum. You go on *4, you do the same. If you have grouped from *1 to *5, you do the same on each. We may not go ahead. I know there is this option. We may not go ahead by adding those columns here. Let's say if you come to count and add it here, add another count. Oh, sorry. Let me undo because I don't want to do a lot. Undo where we were. So we're adding these 3 columns. Now you see the first one was sum. The second one shall come on value field settings, we make it count. And the third one will come on value field settings, we make it average. Yes, you've killed it, but how does this display? The display is your choice, but we can look into another display which I was going to show you, such that it is always dynamic. You don't have to play along with adding columns. So I will drop this, then I'll come here. We are creating multiple options of filters and subtotals. So we shall right click. You go to pivot table options. You come on totals and filters. Now on totals and filters, we have show grand totals. No, they here subtotals filtered page. No, custom allow. I think we lose it because of the grouping. Because of the grouping, let me use one of these. All these are grouped. Let's create another one that is not grouped. Just copy from one of these. As you ask questions, guys, we may not have enough time to ask the questions. We may need to elaborate. So let me kick off these ones all. Then this time I have material. I go ahead and have the commercial career like this. Well, we still have this filter, so you can go ahead and remove the filter that you're on. Then let me check if we have the option I'm looking for. Table filters, no, it's still not. For now, I will also start that. We shall always look at it as we go ahead. I'll figure out why it's not coming. So what I was looking at is this. The way how you see a subtotal of total, we needed to create a subtotal of average and a subtotal of count just by a drop down, which we may not have now, but I've shown you the other option because this was option 2. That other option is adding columns here, and you go ahead and change this to counts, and you change the other one to average. I know you have done that previously. So when you do to average like that, it will always give you a summaries here. These are summaries for that material, which means when we do the same here, you'll have the same repeated for the report you're running like this. This is count. And better, you can always even right click here and you say summarize by average. So you don't have to come this side. Sorry, I had forgotten to show you that. You don't have to come here, click value field settings and get the other pop-up. Just come in that column and say, this column I need you as count. Say, summarize this as count or summarize as maximum. It will bring the maximum tonnages. And even to change the header to max of this. So the summarize is always also at your disposal for use. So I think I've been just flipping back here. So you can have this summary. That way, then you know that 5-star, they have done 311 trips. 4-star are doing 359 trips. The other ones are doing an average of 29. These ones are doing an average of 30.4. That is in tonnage. So that is an analysis. So you can go ahead and present it in a visual, or you can go ahead and have it this summary input somewhere in a dashboard, and it is ready for presentation. So guys, any question? I feel like I've summarized at least 80% of what it takes to work with pivot tables. What is remaining, we are going to find it in another extended or advanced sessions we shall have. I don't want to keep flip-flopping into levels to get some people lost. So I will pack it here for now. I will just require to have questions from you. You can even ask questions from session 2. That's why I've used the same document, such that we can flip back and forth. Okay, the platform is open. Maybe when you tell me that you don't have questions, then we shall have a few minutes to close it off. But at least if I can get like 3 questions from the audience, since this is going to be our last session on the intermediate pivot tables. There is the advanced one, which we shall introduce the weeks to come. And as you're preparing to ask me your question, as I look at our, we have forgotten something. We have forgotten calculated fields. I'm going to run into this quickly. Guys, I know we are time bound. So we'll copy the same as we have always done. Come here, paste. I don't know whether you see how I'm using my sheet. I'm using a sheet to the maximum of 8. So we remove these filters, we clear all of them. Now, here, there is a question that has come. That is, we have called them problems. They want us to determine the cost, full cost of logistical cost. Let me call it logistics cost. Logistics cost. Then another thing, they're saying you determine the bonus you're going to give. And the bonus is going to be, everyone will be getting a bonus of maybe 0.5%. So there we go. So we have 2 problems. We have been told to determine the logistics cost, of which here they have given us that assume that every ton is shipped at UGX, let's say 5,000. It is a constant rate. So that's the problem we have. Let me hope Chirunda, Brian, they're here. I know you have done these reports. Susan, even in procurement, you have these logistics costs, which always rely on the tonnage. Yes, I know people have always created, like here you come and create a cost, then you go ahead and say, I will say this is equal to this, which is yes, this is equal to AQ3. AQ3, then I multiply it by 5,000. Someone else can say that, me, I'm going to use this option. So I'll put it like this and drag it down. But in case this pivot was changed and we added another column like this, do you know that why this error we are getting it is because your pivot wants to extend to the right, but you have already blocked it by putting a column that is not part of the pivot. So this is already a blocker. You can't go onwards. And when you say, okay, you're going to replace this. So when I say, okay, I've replaced the cost I had calculated before. You have done okay when you're already in the boardroom presenting. This one comes like this. You start figuring out how you can bring it back. Obviously, undo will always save you the day. But they want you to add here the material descriptions. You can't add them because this will disappear. So because of that problem, I've just brought for you a scenario of a problem. Then the solution is this. Pivot tables will always bring to you calculated fields. Minus going back to the raw data to create a column and put it as a logistics cost and multiply the quantity by the rate, then it picks this side. We don't want to do anything with this raw data. We have said this raw data is high level, you can't edit anything. Your work is to use it, pick out insights. So we can't edit anything the other side. So the other option is we shall always create calculated fields, which is this. So you find it under pivot table analyze, you come to calculated fields. I know we are tired, but let's first pay attention. If you are doing anything, just pay attention for a few seconds, minutes. This one is vital. So calculated fields, we need to create a logistics cost. So I will come here and I say, this is a logistics cost. Then after creating that, how am I going to calculate logistics cost? I'm going to calculate it. The zero is not part of my DNA in this calculation. I delete the zero. So then you scroll down and look for quantity because this is a dynamic field. So double click on the quantity, it will automatically appear here. The moment this appears, if you delete it will go. If you delete and remain with Q, Q is not part of our data, so you will not get your data. Make sure that when you double click and it appears, go ahead and put other operatives or operations, either times, multiply, do what. So we are now going to multiply this one by 5,000 because that's our rate. So the moment I do add, and I say okay, the moment I do add, it means that I'm adding logistics cost as part of my field. Then I do okay. This logistics cost will be here, and it will automatically go to your field, your pivot table. And remember, we didn't have it in data. We don't mind. Let the person who blocked this data for not editing remain with their data, but for us, we shall get the insights from there. You can go ahead and change this number format by putting there a comma and leaving it at 0 decimal place. And here we go. We already have a logistics cost at a rate of 5,000. That was our first problem. And this is the total cost. So which means if someone else said that, we want you to change, first remove carriers, and we see which material has taken a high logistics cost. That's what I told you the other time. You can't fumble when you have done it manually. So this time I'll just drag this, put it here. Then I throw out the commercial carrier. You see, it automatically picks. It automatically shows Fundi, this is what we costed. Superset, that's what we costed. And the total remains the same. Okay. So that is the first problem. We have solved it by using calculated field. You can go ahead and remove this, but I told you to leave a space such that it is different from what is here. Now we want to add here a bonus. Now, adding a bonus is going to be tricky. For now, I'm just going to go with a bonus of all. I'm going to give all of them a bonus. Then it is in future, I will show you giving a bonus to those who have surpassed a certain figure. But we shall do that from the filter we have just done previously. But for now, we are going to create a bonus field, which means we are going to create a bonus by multiplying the cost times 0.5. So, which means I will go ahead still, I go on field calculated field settings. I say this is the bonus. Now I change, my bonus is going to be logistics cost. You see the beauty that is here. We are using a column we calculated to calculate another column. So we multiply this by 0.5%. What's 0.5%? It's 0.005. Anyone who has a question on that, please ask. I don't want to put the percentage sign just to make it clear and not having errors. 0.5% is 0.005 divided by 100. So I will add this and say okay. So we have the bonus here, which means anyone who did Fundi is going to take this bonus. But now this one doesn't make sense. It was making sense when it was still transporters. So I'll bring back my transporters. So you see that I can keep swapping at any choice, at any level I feel like, because it is a pivot table. So we have the bonus here, which means we are going to distribute a bonus of 1.19 in total. Now, this is where now you come in and say, what if we give bonus to only people who have a logistics cost of above 10 million? Then that's when you come here and you say value filters, then you go to greater than, then here, now you see since we have more than one value, the other time we had quantities only. Now we want anyone who has a logistics cost that is greater than 10 million. Those are the people we need to give bonus. So I will put here 10 million. Don't put commas when you're doing this side. So I will do okay. So the moment I do that, I've already filtered. These are the people I'm going to consider in my reporting to get this bonus. Anyone who didn't appear here because it was less than 10 million. So which means these people will have a cost of this and they will take this. Remember now, if you don't want X works, you can go ahead and remove the X works from. You don't want anything, or you can unticket it from here. Like you come and untick here, it will disappear. Now, another question they are saying, we are going only to pay bonus to top three transporters or carriers, commercial carriers. Now, that is the third problem you had, which means you have to produce a report that has the logistics cost. By that, it is giving a bonus of this, and that person has to be among the top three in volumes. So, which means you come to volume here. This time you come to value filters, which means this of greater than no longer works for us because you can't use for both. So, which means we shall come on value filters, you go on top 10. On top the 10, you remove it and put it at 3. So we are looking at top 10 of the item. And here we are comparing what? So that's we are now by what? By quantity, by logistics cost, or by bonus. Obviously, we are giving bonus. Again, you can't compare by bonus. So you can say compare by logistics cost. So if I say, okay, it is only going to give me 3 guys who are entitled to get bonus. And the bonus is equivalent to 619,607. So you see where we have come from. We have not touched this data because this data someone locked it. You can't add anything. But we have played with all the techniques we have in pivot tables, and we have come up with this with ease. And this can change at any time. If at some point Shaka surpassed, let's go back this side. Look for Shaka. Where is Shaka? Where is Shaka? If at some point Shaka surpassed one of them, maybe let's put 2 zeros here such that you can have a high quantity. Then we go back to our data. It has not yet refreshed because Shaka has not yet reappeared. So I will come here. You see, I can't get the refresh button. Why? because I've not clicked in the pivot. Click in the pivot, then you get this, you go and get refresh. The moment I refresh, Shaka will appear automatically. And we shall have dropped the mark because it's no longer part of the top 3. So you can even go ahead and sort this. Sorting, I showed you how you do it. You come here on sort. There is even more sort options. So more sort options, then you'll say, I want to sort Z to A using logistics cost, which means I want the highest on top. So you go ahead and do OK. So which means if I came up with my graph on this and do a pivot chart, automatically here now I will be going for a scattered. Go for this. Actually, this and this, they're on a different lane. We shall do combo. So when I do combo, I will put logistics cost since it is money on its own. No. We make all of them bars. We make all of them bars like this. Okay, this is the bar, and we make the other ones line charts like this, like that. So we put this one on the right and this one on the right. So if you come up with a graph like this, we are going to do graphs the other week. Don't worry. Don't worry, and don't ask any question how graphs are coming. We are going to do that. So here you're already presenting, you already have a chart for your top 3 guys who are going to take bonus. Because the logistics cost, they are having that, you can always insert labels to make sure that you communicate right what. So you can always take that on top. There is a lot of formatting we shall do when we reach that part. So here when you're communicating, yes, him affiliate, we are giving him a bonus of this. You'll have shown here the number. This one, we are giving him a bonus because he has done this is the second, this one is the third, blah, blah, blah. Guys, I think, I know you're mute, you're listening in, but I think I've spoken enough, and I don't want to give you a lot that you may not take in for that day. But otherwise, let's use the 10 minutes to close the call. That's what I had forgotten out, and there we go. So I can say now I have summarized out everything. What is remaining? There are some of them that will shift on another session. Otherwise, we call it a day. Any questions, guys? Because I close off, before I close off. Any questions?
Sabit, it was so elaborate
Sorry?
this time around. It was so elaborate.
It was so elaborate. I was not on speed like Karongo said. But
Yeah.
I appreciate that at least we still have half of the participants we are supposed to have on this call. That's 23, we are supposed to be 49. So I know some guys are, but they will always catch up with our recordings. So any questions? Nope. And but at least you should have questions. We can't run all this without questions. Okay. So guys, I will wish you a good night. Then next week we may not have this call because of the close month business. But we shall keep engaging on the WhatsApp group. Just ask as more questions as you can. You know why it tells me that no one has done practice on this end? Because I don't see questions coming through, apart from Rachel who has something at some point. But we need more questions to come through on that group. That's the purpose for that group. It goes for 2 days without any chat that comes to. So let's use it to purpose. Because the moment we finish this without elaborating some of the things, we are going to forget. So guys, I will let you to take, you can take back the 8 minutes. And we call it a good week. We shall meet again next month, but we shall keep chatting on the group. So I'm going to share this file, which is both session 2 and session 3 for pivot tables. Then I will require you to go ahead and review the videos when you have time. You can always run like 10 minutes, 20 minutes and practice. Okay. So that is it, guys. If there is anything, I will ask Susan, maybe if there's nothing to record on the purpose of the recording, we shall, Susan, you can drop the recording, then we can have closing remarks, and we have ourselves good times. Guys, you're mute if you're speaking.
Thank you, Sabiti.
Thank you all.